says maybe.
We on Facebook yet?
Not yet.
Okay. Here we go.
There we go.
Let's
At least
go.
up on TikTok, and then we'll get it going on Facebook in
Perfect.
just a second.
Yep. TikTok, let us know if you've got sound. Can you hear us? We are doing a live travel show. Let's see what they're saying. Can they hear us, friends? COVID-19, you have a handle that's COVID-19. That's pretty funny. Can you guys hear us? Drop a comment. Let me know if you can hear. We're doing a travel talk show. We're talking about how to plan an awesome travel trip once, COVID's done. Everybody's ready to travel again. We're going to be talking about what to research. We're going to be talking about a lot of really fun stuff. So we're just waiting for...
We're up on Facebook.
Up on Facebook. Let us know if you can hear us.
Just to verify, I think our sound's working this time. I think I figured out the issue from 2 weeks ago.
Awesome. Fabulous.
But
so, welcome.
let us know.
Welcome to Travel Talk Live, friends. We are going to be talking today about how to plan the most amazing vacation. We're going to be talking about what research needs to be done. We're going to be talking about how to get visas or where to look up, how to get visas for different countries, depending on where you're trying to go. And we're going to be talking about medicine, some of our favorite travel hacks, and strategizing what gear to buy, and then tools for finding food, especially if you have a specialized diet. Stylized, wow. I don't know where these words are coming from. So that's what we're into today. And as always, if you have questions as we're going, this is an interactive show. So drop a comment, let us know what you want to talk about, and we'll be sure to engage in that as well. We want to answer the questions that you have, and we want to point you in the direction of really great resources. So you can message during the show, or you can message after the show to let us know what you want to see more of and what you want to hear.
Yep, and if we missed your comment for some reason, just throw it in again and we'll definitely get it.
That's right. We're not just saying that to get more comments, because
TikTok and Instagram, that flows through so fast. It's telling us everyone that's joining, so it's easy to miss those.
It's true. And TikTok, you always come through, so so strong. So, all right, you guys, let's get rocking and rolling. One of the
first up.
First things I want to talk about is caching maps. That's something that you brought into my awareness, and it's really a game changer. Tell them a little bit about caching maps.
It's my favorite trick. So when you're traveling somewhere, it's hard to know how to get around, right? And you're trying to figure that out, and it's really tough. So GPS is, of course, like the greatest invention ever for traveling and just in general. And so you can use your maps anywhere, even if you don't have internet service. So a lot of times when you travel to a new country, you don't have internet. Maybe you get a SIM card.
You can often, and a little side note, you can often get a SIM card at the airport when you land newly in a country. You can pop your SIM card out of your phone, use a SIM card from that new place, and that will give you access to using your phone. But some people don't want to do that, and they just want to have their little device. They want to connect to Wi-Fi from their hostel or coffee shops, and they don't need to have data everywhere. And this is an amazing hack, and really makes travel more cost-effective as well.
Yeah, and while we're on the cell phone thing, actually, we did a bunch of research before our trip because we wanted to have internet everywhere. We were going so many places, so maybe it'd be helpful to share a little bit about what our favorite, or like what my research found for what cell phone carriers to use if you do a lot of international travel.
Tell us, quick.
Okay, so T-Mobile is probably your best big carrier because they make it pretty friendly while traveling. So T-Mobile is an easy one to check out if you don't already have T-Mobile. The other one that we used, and I think we liked it quite a bit. We only had like one major snafu with it, but the service was a lot better. It's a lot easier to get customer service, is Google Fi. So Google started offering this service a year or two ago.
Yep.
At least a year, maybe 2 years ago. And they send you a Google Fi SIM card, and it's really great having service through Google. I think they actually use T-Mobile's network, but it's a Google service, which is really nice. and we had every country we went to. There's over 200 countries that they cover.
And you don't even have to change much. You land in a country, you have your settings already set up. They walk you through how to have it so that you land in a new country and it just transfers. So we felt like we just had the same service throughout our travels to 21 different countries, even though the actual like carrier service was changing, but it was happening in the background, so we didn't have to worry about that. So Google Fi, highly recommend that as a travel service if you're going to be going to multiple countries.
Yep, it's really great. Some of the other ones will maybe give you like a little bit of data once a month or different things, but generally if you're doing a lot of travel, going to a lot of places, you might want to consider switching services. So that's a quick tip.
All right, back to caching maps.
Caching maps. Okay. So if you can't count on cell service or you don't have cell service, you want to have that information about your maps stored on your phone so that you know where you're going and you know where you are relative to where you're going. So Google can save those maps locally on your phone. So when you're on Wi-Fi, you can save the map and then you can leave and go out, and then you'll be able to zoom into the map, know what street you're on, and it will save all the information that's contained within a map.
Now, I'm a millennial, he's a millennial. We use our phones to get around. We use our phones to get around in new cities. We can use our phones to get around for hiking. We use our phones for all of that stuff. And so to have it already, you've already starred the items that you know where you want to go that day. You've saved them to your maps. You've cached the map so that it's stored on your phone. Now, even if you don't have data or Wi-Fi all day, you still have everything that you need on your phone. It's a game changer for travel.
Yep. So the way you do that is you have to have Google Maps. I don't know why you wouldn't. It's clearly the best map setup. And then it's kind of a tricky way of doing it. They might have a different way of doing it now, but the way I've always done it is to go zoom into the section of map that you want to save. And that can be a whole city. It can be a pretty big space. It depends how much data, how much storage room you have on your phone and stuff like that. But in general, you just like zoom into the city or zoom out to the city. And then you type in your search browser on Google Maps and say, okay, not okay, okay space maps, okay maps. And hit enter, and then it'll say, is this the area that you want to save? You confirm it, and then it will start downloading, and it will save it. And I think it saves it for 1 to 2 months, and then it will let you know when it expires. So
again, you're typing into your search bar in Google Maps, the letter O, letter K.
Maps. M-A-P-S, yep.
And there you go. You'll have that map saved. So
highly recommend.
Hit us up when that saves you later, and be like, thank you so much. I cached my maps.
Yep.
We want to hear it. All right, you guys, on to the next one. So one of the next fun things to talk about is what to research in general. When you're looking to go to a new place, what sort of things do you need to think about? One is going to be climate. What's the weather going to be like when you get there?
Yep. So making sure you understand the climate is good for what clothes you wear. So, on our trip, we were going to mostly warm climates, but the beginning and the end were actually both going to be pretty cool. So we had to be smart about that. We packed both some cold clothes and then a lot of warm clothes.
Yep. And it's also important because if you're pre-planning the activities you're going to do when you get there, you're going to want to know what sort of climate that you're interacting in, right? If you are going to be in 120 degree weather, you're probably not going to be planning midday hikes, right? Like that, maybe if you cray, but probably you're going to be looking for like museums that you can be in midday and maybe more evening things. So it's really helpful to know the climate that you're going to be doing. Know what sort of things that you already like to do.
Got someone on YouTube. Hello.
Oh, hey, YouTube. First time. We're still trying to get the YouTube running, so happy that you've joined us here. We've got TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, of course, all talking travel time with us.
Yep.
So what sort of things do you like to do? What makes you happy? Do you know you like to consume a lot of historic information? Maybe you get a tour guide. Looking up blogs to see what are the top activities. Quick shout out to our blog, www.forgoodnesssakes.com. It's in the show notes if you're on a platform that allows show notes. And we talk about each country that we went to, the top activities that we did, and some of the places we say we learned, halfway through our trip that we should have done this a different way. So Egypt, for example, when we go back, I've got a different way that I want for us to do it. But we had no way of knowing that until we got there. Once we got there, all of the Egyptians there were like, oh, this is the best way to do it. But we didn't find that information before.
Right. The other big one, rain. Gotta keep an eye on rain and make sure you have waterproof clothes. That's huge. Rain jackets are definitely awesome. If you really like umbrellas, think about that in advance and get an umbrella that's very small.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, you really want that. Another couple important things, a few. So you want to know about kind of sanitation and hygiene, water. So you want to know, can you drink the water? Do you flush the toilet paper? For people who haven't traveled outside the U.S. much, that's something that you might not know. A lot of places, their sewage is not set up to process toilet paper, and so you actually need to put toilet paper in the trash can.
In the bin next to it. There's actually an amazing website for figuring that out. It's called wheredoiputthepaper.com. Not making this up. This is a real important, critical website when you're traveling internationally. Wheredoiputthepaper.com.
Yeah.
And that is how you'll know if you can put paper in the
flush
toilet or
or
in the
toilet,
bin.
yeah.
It's really important because you don't always know. A country might seem nice and seem like a place that would have higher quality sewage systems that allow you to flush it, but that's not always the case. You always want to check that. Always.
So that's key. Can you drink the water? If not, what are you supposed to do? What is the hygiene that you should have around food? Should you not eat anything that's not hot? That comes up sometimes. What else were some of them? I just had a bunch. Oh, how to get around. So you're going to want to know, is it safe in the area that you're in to walk? Is it common to walk? Are there scooters and bikes outside available? Mm-hmm. Can you take taxis? Right. Is that safe to take taxis? Can you take Ubers?
Well, I was going to say that a big way that we found a lot of this information was when we were flying into a new country. Before we got on the plane, we'd look up, I think it was Wiki Travel. Mm-hmm. They have consolidated a lot of this information onto their website. And so you can search for a country or a city, and they will give you kind of, how do people get around? How do they get to and from the airport? What can you do with the water, the food, the taxis, all that stuff, how safe it is. It consolidates that really nicely. Oh, and what are some cultural norms to be aware of?
That was going to be my next one.
That's a big one.
So cultural norms, that can be really important. You want to know, what's appropriate for women to wear, what's appropriate for men to wear, and in certain areas. So there are going to be some places, some temples, where there are specific outfit guidelines. That comes up a lot. For example, we were in United Arab Emirates during Ramadan.
Yep.
And so people weren't eating. And so people were fasting during the day. And so we needed to be considerate and be aware of that and what all that meant, which included that if we were eating, we needed to be behind a partition, because you don't want to, you're fasting during Ramadan, you walk by a bunch of people like, yum, this burger is so good. Like, how hard is that? Right. So you want to know about the different cultural kind of how to interact in the new culture that you're in, what's appropriate. That can be a lot of fun. That was one of my favorite things to look up and to try to understand as we were heading into a new place. Things about being on a train is so different in Japan than it is in America. It's so quiet. Like, you can be packed like matchsticks in a train with during rush hour, and you're so close to everybody else, and like you could hear a pencil drop 2 trains down. It was so quiet. And so if you're kind of not being aware of that and you step onto the train, you're talking loudly to your buddy, it could be really disrespectful and really uncomfortable for everybody that you're around. So that's a really good one too. Money. That's another one that's really great to know as you're heading into a new place.
And like leaving the previous place is sometimes really important too. You don't want to show up to a country that is a cash culture and where you might have to pay for a visa when you land and not have cash. This can really get you into a pickle, and so you really want to look in advance kind of what's required, how do you pay for things, what do you need at customs to get around.
Yeah, that's huge. When he says cash culture, what he means is everything happens in cash. So here in America, I almost exclusively use my credit card. Like the cash that's in my wallet barely comes out. You know, it's been in there for months, and very rarely interact in cash. There's some places where you can't really use a credit card. You can't really use a debit card. It's just cash. And so knowing that before you go, pulling out in understanding your situation with your ATM. So is your bank card going to charge you every time you withdraw money? And making decisions about what that means for how frequently you pull out money, because you also don't really want to be walking around a foreign land with a ton of cash on you. So if you're going to be there for a while, you still may want to pull out cash a little bit later, or in increments along the way, not just all at once.
Right.
So that's something to think about.
What about visas?
Next thing, visas. So visas can be really interesting because they're different from place to place, vastly different.
And it's, quite frankly, it's one of my least favorite parts of travel. It's pretty awful, and so you want to make sure that you're doing good research well in advance. And for some countries, you need to have this sorted out completely before you book your travel at all. And so that is a huge consideration to make. If you're going somewhere that you hear people traveling all the time, you're probably okay. But if you're going somewhere at all different from like your peers, then you should really consider understanding the visa requirements before you book.
So let's talk about some of our quirkier ones.
Yep.
So I think we want to talk about Russia visa process. Oh boy, strap in. And we want to talk about Tanzania process.
Yep.
And what was it? Cambodia? Somewhere in
Vietnam. Was a weird one. Yep.
Oh boy. All
Guys.
right. Try not to get too drained, but these are some examples of what the visa process can look like for more difficult places, and why it's important to pay attention ahead of time so that you are prepared for whatever comes.
Well, let's start easy and get harder.
Great.
So let's start with the easiest, which would be a country that has a great relationship with your country, and you can just show up, walk to customs, give them your passport, they just stamp it, and you walk right in. It's almost like you're part of that country as long as you have a passport.
Yeah.
But usually there are 30-day requirements, but that's kind of another thing.
Yep.
If you're looking at a long trip, also make sure you consider your time allotment within a country based on the visa.
Yep.
But anyway, okay, moving up from that, I'd say Tanzania was probably the next level of weirdness and difficulty.
Yeah.
We read that online in advance that, you want to get your visa beforehand, but then we also read in a lot of places that you can just show up. So we were going to so many places, we didn't want to deal with all that work in advance, so we just showed up. And it worked, but barely. They have a strange cash requirement. You have to pay $100 cash when you land in order to get a visa in Tanzania.
Everyone.
Yeah.
Not just us because we're from America. Everyone has to pay $100 to get into Tanzania. It's one of the most confusing things, like to wrap your brain around it. You're like, do you mean the equivalent in Tanzania dollars? No, they mean everybody who wants to enter Tanzania has to pay in US dollars. So
it's very strange, but I think their currency, it fluctuates a bit too much, and so they use US dollars as a little bit more of a stable way of doing it. But you really want to have that before you go.
Yeah.
We kind of found ourselves in a pickle and kind of forgot about this and landed and didn't have that money available. And so we were like, oh no, what are we gonna do? Like, we don't have this available. Are they gonna just keep us somewhere or like put us on the next plane? How's this gonna work? And I still don't know what would have happened. It's really hard to find that information online if you don't have a visa, what they do. I don't think you want to put yourself in that situation, so just figure it out in advance. So fortunately for us in Tanzania, I like begged them and they were really nice. They actually walked me
They
past
didn't walk you.
customs.
They pointed you.
Okay, yeah, you're right. You're right.
They
just
pointed.
said,
They were like, "Oh, you just go that way," and he just walked past customs.
this will not happen in most countries, but this is a very small airport, and it was Tanzania, so that's just kind of how
It's
they
their
did
main
it.
airport.
No,
Arusha. It's for Arusha.
Arusha is one of their
anyway.
tourist airports, but still very, very small. And so I went back, pulled out money, but it was in Tanzania money. It wasn't in American money. So I went back and I said, here you go. And they're like, no, it has to be in US dollars. I'm like, are you kidding me? But they had a money exchange outside. So then I had to walk back again and change it and then come back and pay. And it worked, but I would not recommend that. Maybe the people are like a lot more intense. And so your ATM, your money exchange might be on the other side of customs. They might not let you go get it.
That was wild. That was really crazy. But yeah, so that's something that you'd want to know. Getting different currencies, you can usually do that at the airport. You're usually paying a premium to do that at an airport if you're in an airport with a lot of currency exchangers and stuff like that. But it can make it a lot easier than trying to carry that much money around with you if you're doing multiple countries.
Yep. Next up, Vietnam.
Vietnam. Oh boy. This is notoriously bad. Vietnam's visa process, like if you look up blogs, ours included, and you're reading about the visa process, everybody's like, strap in, it's awful.
It's especially strange for Vietnam because they do have a lot of tourism, and I'm not a very political person, but at least on the surface, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of political tension between Vietnam and other countries, so you'd think they would just kind of open the gates for tourism like Thailand does, like Cambodia does. But I think Cambodia you still have to pay, but it's a lot easier.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Vietnam, you have to first get like a visa invitation or like a approval letter. There's a few different names for what this is called, but you have to get an organization that basically says, hey, yeah, we want these people to come to our country, and they like invite you, but really it's complete horse crap. Like, they don't ask you any questions. You don't have to see them when you're there. You don't have to do anything. And so it's really just an extra bureaucratic step and an extra place that you have to pay money in order to get into the country.
And when you get there, on the paperwork that you fill out, so you have to wait in line. So you already got an invitation. Now you get to the airport.
Which you need to do well in advance.
Well in advance.
Like at least a couple weeks to give it time.
Because it has to get mailed to you.
Fortunately for Vietnam, you could get emailed.
Emailed, okay. And so then you get to the airport. You have to wait in line to get your piece of paper that you're going to fill out. Then when you start filling it out, you have to put down like your parents' names, your siblings' names and address, and you're like, why would you need this? This
all sorts of information.
So much information that just feels like so bizarre, but nobody asks you about it, and you just turn it in, and you're like...
Yeah, so you wait in line to get the form, then you give the form to someone, and then they review it, and then maybe like 15, 20 minutes later, they come back and say, cool, you're good. And then you get in another line, and this line... It was just this massive hall, like room that had a ton of lines, and it probably took another 45 minutes to get through that line.
Yep.
Just to get through the border, give them your application, your money, and get through. So.
And then you're free.
Yeah, it's crazy. A lot of applications will say, "Hey, where are you staying? We need the address for your hotel." You can kind of put anywhere. Generally, we did like the first place we were staying if we had it booked, but we've landed in countries not knowing where we were going to stay, and then you just find a hotel.
You're like, we'll probably stay at this one, so you write that one down.
Yep, you just find a hotel and you just put it down, and it's another really weird aspect of traveling because it's not like they're actually going to do anything with that information, probably.
Right.
So.
But then don't do anything bad while you're there, because then if they have to chase you down, you're not where you said you were. So just like be a good person, but you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. And then last one, real quick, Russia. If you're gonna do Russia, we recommend. Do you remember the name of the good program?
Not offhand.
All right. Well, if you're gonna do Russia, reach out to us. Send us a direct message or a message to the blog.
Yep.
We have a program to recommend that we wish we had gone with right off the bat that handles the Russian visa process. It was wild for us. We went to pick up the document. It's in Russian. So, like, luckily we had Russian friends who helped us fill it out. But, like, if you don't.
Well, you can get it online. You fill it out online, but it's really unclear. Like, some of the questions are really hard to know how detailed of answers they're wanting and certain nuances. So you fill it out and you hope you got it right. And then they have like 3 or 4 offices in the entire country that you can go and submit these applications. And that's your only option.
And you have to go in person.
So we happened to be in San Jose and be able to go to the San Francisco office, but it still took like an hour each way. You go in, you give it to them, and then they're like, oh, this isn't right. And then you have to fix it.
Yeah. And
kind of keep doing this back and forth until you get it right. Then they send it to the embassy in the U.S. in Washington, D.C., and then send it back. And it's this whole thing that takes a very long time.
Yeah, it was wild. That was crazy, but Russia was also glorious.
Worth it. Worth it. Go to Russia.
So worth it. We loved Russia so much. It was brilliant. We love Russian people and the Russian culture, and I think that I have grown up with a kind of very twisted view of what it's like in Russia, so it was really lovely to get to be there. We only did see Moscow and St. Petersburg, which are two of the big, so we didn't get into the rural side or anything that's not kind of the very public areas. So there's definitely different perspectives on all things Russia. That's a bigger conversation, but beautiful place to visit.
And then one more note about Russia, and this might exist in other countries if you're going to these places that maybe don't have the best relationships with other parts of the world, is we had to like declare where we were staying while we were there. And so we had to do this extra step again while you're there. And so that does exist in Russia and some other places. So just really look into all the things you have to do for any given country. It's really important.
Yes, absolutely. Now, strategizing what sort of gear to buy. We posted a really great blog at www.forgoodnesssakes.com/blog that is all of our travel gear. And it's not necessarily like, I mean, a lot of the things we put links to our favorite items, but a lot of them are kind of the conceptual ideas behind what to get. And it's ethical products that are made by companies that are really supporting great values, and they're also specifically travel gear. There's some really amazing stuff. We've got some really great luggage options, stuff, so like water bottles that allow you to drink water, even if it's like, you can go up to a dirty pond and put the water in your bottle and still it be safe when you drink it.
Yep, if you need to.
If you need to. Clothes. Now, this is a really funny and interesting thing. When you're thinking about packing for a long trip, you might think, wow, I need a lot of clothes.
It's the opposite.
It's the opposite.
Yeah, you want to, instead of having a lot of clothes, you want to have very few clothes that they're antimicrobial, really, is kind of the key. You want stuff that you can wear multiple times before you need to wash. Yeah. And you want to be lightweight. Lightweight and antimicrobial, those are the two biggest tips by far.
Yeah. So when he first told me this, he was like, you got to, I'm going to tilt this up just a smidge. He was like, we're going to have to pack like a small amount of stuff. That's what we're doing. That's how it's going. And I was like, what, babe? But I need like fashionable clothing. And he was like, if you want to, you can, but maybe don't. And it's so true. So some of the things that I packed for this long trip that we were on for almost half a year, I didn't wear some of those items, but I carried them the whole time. I carried them, I mean, he carried them. And so, thanks, babe.
We did both.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, try to find clothes that are lightweight and don't have cotton. That's how you get antimicrobial. They won't get very stinky or sweaty. And then that you also like to wear. That you're like, I know I will wear this all the time. And have them be things that you can wear with other things. So I made sure that any shirt I had would go with almost all of my shorts and vice versa. So that I could just mix it up in whatever climate or whatever environment we were in. I had a lot of options even though I didn't have a lot of clothes. I think this is a lot easier for men though.
Yeah, so I knew that we were going to be wanting to go out to cute restaurants and we were going to want to be, dressing up a little bit for some things. And that's really hard when you're going to be carrying your luggage for, 6 months. So I did end up packing a few dresses, and what I would do is I just got lightweight dresses as much as I could. Were able to be really compact. And then if it were cold, I would just wear a jacket over until we got to our destination. Shoes is also really interesting. Guys can kind of get away with wearing the same shoes for a lot of stuff. I kind of needed a strappy sandal, a sturdier sandal, hiking boots, and some sort of shoe that would look okay if I was wearing it with a dress or something like that. So you get creative and figure out ways, but less really is more, because when you're, running to catch a train, trying to lug all your luggage around, it makes a huge difference that you don't have to be carrying something that's really heavy.
Almost just as much as important about that for me, you get it, is that I don't like to be sifting through a lot of clothes when I'm packing and unpacking and looking for clothes. It's a lot of work to pack and unpack and to say, hey, I'm looking for this shirt, and then you have to dig out everything and search for it. And so it's just a lot more effort that you'll have to do, whereas if you have very limited stuff, you find it real quick, it makes it that much more smooth.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks for your comment, Rebecca. Really appreciate that you like this program. We're here to provide travel ideas. We are travel experts. We have been all over the world, and we just completed a 21-country vegan voyage that was about 6 months, so we can talk about all things travel. If you have comments, you can always interact with us live during the show, which the show is always Fridays at 2 p.m. Pacific time. And if you catch this video on YouTube or on Facebook after the show streams live, you can always reach out to us on the blog or through a direct message to let us know what questions you'd like for us to cover in our next show, and we'll be sure to do that for you.
Yep.
Last topic before we close out and wrap this show up, I want to talk about tools for finding food, especially when you have a specialized diet.
Yep.
What are some of your favorites?
I mean, Happy Cow is by far the best place to find vegan food anywhere in the world. It's everywhere, and it's specific to foods that don't have animal products in it or minimize that, and so it's just so easy.
And it's not just food on Happy Cow. I don't know if you guys have browsed it too much, but they have entertainment or activities that you can do, and they also have lodging.
Yeah, it was actually the first place I looked for lodging everywhere we went, because if there was a vegan Airbnb, a vegan hotel,
why
or
not,
anything,
right?
I want to know, because that could be a really cool experience. I might not know about it otherwise. So that's a great starting place for that.
Yeah, and I didn't even consider using Happy Cow for that until we started seeing it over and over again. So I think that's kind of an underutilized element of that website.
They have an ice cream filter and drinks, I think, too.
Ice cream filter. That's what I'm after.
Yep.
And then, what about A Billion Veg?
Billion Veg, that's really cool stuff. So they take a different twist and they're reviewing more meals instead of restaurants. I mean, the meals within a restaurant, but you kind of get the idea. So you can get a more specific feel for dishes.
Yep.
Which is great. And they're based out of Singapore, so you'll see a ton of stuff in Singapore, but it's really growing. I feel like you can see it. You can find food anywhere now.
Yep. That's really cool. Another awesome thing about A Billion Veg is that you can, in your local town or an area that you frequent, if you have a restaurant that you used to love before you became plant-based, or you just really think that, oh man, they're in the perfect location, I would totally eat there if they had food I could eat, you can actually poke them through A Billion Veg, and A Billion Veg will send them an email on your behalf asking them for vegan options. So it's a great way to just communicate and put that request out and let them know that there is a market waiting for them as soon as they decide to make some plant-based meals.
Yep.
So that's pretty fun. Google is another one. You just pull up Google Maps, type in vegan food, and start looking at the websites. I'm usually surprised with how pleasant that turns out for me.
Or Google on your phone, and maybe there's a blog or something that has like the top 10, and that's a really great way.
Yeah.
It's almost like...
Can you think of any blog?
Right, yeah, where could you do that?
Where
maybe,
could you...
maybe your blog.
Oh, yeah, maybe the For Goodness Sakes blog. That has a lot of great ones. In fact, it's designed so that if you wanted to do the same 21 country vegan voyage that we did, you'd be able to basically follow in our footsteps, and it's kind of pre-planned for you. And that includes the activities we did, the food we ate, the stuff we packed, all that jazz. And of course, you can reach out and ask us for questions as they come up.
Yeah, please do. We'd love that.
Yep. Facebook groups. This is another one. We talked about it before. We talked about it in episode 1 of Travel Talks, but I want to bring it up again because I think it's worth mentioning. Join a Facebook group of a country that you're going to, like if you follow a specific diet. So if you're vegan or you're vegan gluten-free, maybe you search vegan gluten-free London and see what Facebook groups come up. Or you're going to Iceland, you're going to Reykjavik, and you type in vegan Reykjavik, and there's a group that's called Vegan Travelers to Iceland or to Reykjavik, I forget which one it is, and you can join that, and then you can go into the group, you can ask them any questions that you might have about traveling, about meeting up, and you can also use the search bar on the left-hand side before you ask a question to find out if that question's already been asked. So that's a huge key to making your travel even easier as you're heading to a new country.
Yep.
Last one I want to mention, we'll wrap this up here, is Instagram. Instagram is a really fun way to not only get an idea of where the food is or, see reviews, but to get really fun food. A lot of companies, they invest in Instagram and making the visuals really compelling. So that can be a really fun way to find that food. You can pull up your location on a map, or search hashtags, or find a local vegan who's representing that food or whatever your specialty diet is, and be able to find all of that stuff.
And I just feel like a restaurant that has a good social media presence is probably that much more likely to have really fun food.
Yeah.
And so it's also just a really unique way, or it's a really great way to find unique restaurants that have these beautiful, exciting, or innovative dishes, because they want to show everyone. And so then you can find that, and then you can go there and experience that firsthand.
Yep, that's absolutely true.
When travel is allowed again.
Right, once we're allowed to travel again. And until travel is allowed again, you can go over to YouTube, our channel, which will be in the show notes if you have access to show notes, or search For Goodness Sakes in YouTube, and you can watch the whole 21 country vegan voyage. You can travel the world with us from the safety of your own home, and we are eating the most epic food.
So good.
We're staying in the craziest hotels. We are traveling and educating and interviewing people as we go. So if you're having a travel itch, but you're stuck at home, do it virtually. Join us on the vegan voyage. Reach out if you would like to know anything else about travel. What questions can we answer for you next Friday at 2 p.m.? Shoot us a message or